back to another session of Gallant Current Affairs and News Analysis. So first, before we are going to the news, I would like to say about something that is happening importantly here. We have an essay session by our sir, Akhil sir, who has scored great score in our essay, and he is a topper in essay. He will be taking a live class on August 5th evening 4 o'clock, where he will be talking about how to brainstorm an essay and how to properly write an essay. ഇവിടെ ട്രിവാൻഡ്രത്തുള്ള ആൾക്കാർക്ക് ഓഫ്ലൈൻ ആയിട്ട് ഇത് വന്ന് അറ്റൻഡ് ചെയ്യാം. ഇത് ഓഫ്ലൈനും ഓൺലൈനും ഉണ്ട്. Gallant IAS അക്കാഡമി ഇവിടെ ട്രിവാൻഡ്രത്ത് വെച്ചാണ്. നമ്മുടെ എസ്സേയിൽ ടോപ്പറാണ് നമ്മുടെ അഖിൽ സാർ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. നാളെ 4 മണിക്ക് ഓഗസ്റ്റ് 5-നാണ് സെഷൻ വെച്ചിരിക്കുന്നത്. ഇവിടെ ഉള്ള ആൾക്കാർക്ക് ഓഫ്ലൈൻ വന്ന് അറ്റൻഡ് ചെയ്യാം. ഇത് ഓൺലൈനും അവൈലബിൾ ആണ്. Now moving on to yesterday's practice question, we have the key achievements of goods and service also in the last 5 years, and what are the major challenges with the GST system. We have to discuss on that. So like I told you in analysis of yesterday GST, how our revenue has been increasing from 1.4 lakh crore to 1.5 lakh crore to 1.6 lakh crore. You can start with an analysis in the introduction. If we are looking into the achievements of goods and service tax, we can say that it has digitalization of the whole compliance, because we have introduced a one-stop shop portal, which is the GST network, GSTN, that is GST network, for all the compliances that can be done under our GST, and also the use of technological tools, like we can leverage technology and the data availability to improve the compliances. We can detect the fraud which is happening, and also support a better policy making system. Cooperative federalism between the states, like ensuring a physical federalism, and consensus based federalism between the center and the state. Enlargement of tax base. There is a lot of tax base, like 5 tax base, and the highest tax base is 28%. We can introduce more items, more indirect tax and bases into this, and also it eliminates the cascading effects. There is a repetition of taxes in each stage, and now with just single tax, just GST, the whole compound goes. So we can avoid the cascading effect of tax. Now there are challenges, because we have, like GST was meant to simplify the indirect tax process, but with multiple bases it has actually complicated. So we need to know in ways or measures by which we can improve this also. We need to unlock credit system, like the credit risk score forward extends SY regime and cost of business. It actually blocks the precious working capital for the companies, and also it kind of creates an inverted duty structure, which means that there is high tax in the case of inputs and lower tax in the case of outputs. So this is how the inverted duty structure feels. So there is GST is actually proving there is a problem with the inverted duty structure. There is dispute resolution. A lot of legal dispute with the justice system is happening in the case, still happening in this case in judiciary. Expanding the GST tax network. Not all the commodities are included. We have in Kerala, we have lottery, like petroleum, are some of the compounds or the things which are excluded from GST network. So there is a need to introduce all these in. Also virtual digital assets, like government has recently introduced about, like they are going to tax about 30% in the case of cryptocurrencies, 28% tax on online gaming, and horse riding or such. So we need to actually introduce a taxation base. We had to be increased in the case of virtual digital assets, and also ease of doing business has to be changed. These are some of the concerns or areas which need to be improved in the case of GST. So you could actually compile all this and make it a summary, and also make it a conclusion. Or in the introduction, if you are going to explain the GST, you can write the recent trends and analysis in the GST in the conclusion. So you can do that either way. Now moving on to today's topic, I have 9 topics today. We have to discuss of the Great Nicobar project taken up by the Niti Aayog. Then we have Pakistan approves a sign of security pact with the US. Jana Vishwas Bill. Yesterday we talked about the Vivad Se Vishwas Bill. Today we are going to talk about the Jana Vishwas Bill. Then government impose a curb on the import of laptops. 3 bills passed by Rajya Sabha, and also the services PMI, which we need to discuss in detail. Now first thing I will tell you about the Great Nicobar project. Now Niti Aayog has come up with a plan to create Great Nicobar project. Now you see this comes in the Andaman and Nicobar area. Now they are planning to actually improve a lot, to create a township, to create a greenfield airport from scratch, also a container shipment terminal and a power plant. These are some of the basic criteria that come under this Great Nicobar project. It is in the southern end of the Andaman and Nicobar Island, and these are total which I have told you about. The total area which comes under this is about 16,610 hectares, with a total cost outlay of about 72,000 crores. So this is a brief intro of what this Great Nicobar project is about. Now this project has a lot of importance. Now if you see here in the map, this is a very strategic area. It connects all the ports. In India, we come out Chennai port, Kolkata port, even if Myanmar is there, we have Sittwe port and Yangon port. And also it connects important key area in between the Indian Ocean, key area surrounding these countries. And this area also connects the Strait of Malacca, which is actually a very important strategic and transshipment route where majority of ship traffic goes through this way. So developing of this port will be a very boost to our Indian economy, and this could actually become one of the major strategic centers. And also with the increasing influence of China in our Indian Ocean region. Now we could keep a watch on China and we can reduce the Chinese aggression if we are situated here. We have India has military has a very big control over this area. We can control the transshipment route and also keep an eye on China. These are one of the major key benefits of the scheme. But talking about the benefits, there are a lot of challenges to this as well. Now you see here, this is a very fragile area. So there is going to be a lot of environmental problems with this ongoing project. Now you see, there are about 650 species of flora and 330 species of fauna in this region. Now, if we want to create this project, there is a transshipment route, there is a creation of airports and other roadways in this. We are going to, in an estimate, we are going to fell down about 9.64 lakh of trees. This is going to reduce the tree cover. This is actually going to make that area in some evergreen forest area into kind of an arid area. Not just the environmental impact of tree cover and the forest area, it is going to affect some criteria and animals. In Gallant IAS, it is famous for the turtle. It is going to affect the turtle. It is going to affect the dolphins that reside in this area, and also the other mangrove forest which covers under this area. Apart from that, for human, we have particularly vulnerable tribal groups still there, like Sopi, Nicobaris. These are some of the tribes that is present there. This project is also going to affect them because this project challenges the encroachment into their area, and it actually affects their livelihood, and they have to be transported to some other place. So this is some of the criticism that this project faces. So you need to know the basic, what the strategic importance. You can get this topic in mains of what is the challenges or benefits that arises out of such a project. It is very strategically important, but on the other side there is environmental problems. There is problem for the flora, fauna, and even for the particular vulnerable tribal groups. So you have to measure like this. If you are writing this answer for a mains, it's important that you draw at least a basics of something like this. You can just draw the basic, make a box, draw the surrounding countries and mark how it is strategically important for all the countries. Okay, this could actually fetch you half to 1 marks in your mains. Now, also in this we need to talk about National Green Tribunal, because this is a body which gives environmental clearance of projects like this. So this is a specialized body which is created in the National Green Tribunal Act of 2010. So they mainly take up or they dispose of the case which is mainly related to the environmental protection and conservation of forest and other natural resources. India is the third country to have set up a National Green Tribunal. The first and second is Australia and New Zealand. India is the first developing country to set up a NGT council. Now they have jurisdiction of all the civil cases which involves question relating to the environment, and they can take cases suo motu, means that without somebody even complaining, they can identify certain cases and they can take cases of their own. And they are not bound by the procedures laid down under the Code of Civil Procedure. Now, they are not bound by how the judiciary works. They can take cases based upon the principles of natural justice. They could consider the ethical process, they could consider the environment, not just follow a code or procedure laid upon. So this is what you need to know about NGT, that is basic. It could come in the prelims topic as well. Moving on to our next topic, we have Pakistan approves signing of Security Pact with the US. So in this we need to know that Pakistan cabinet approved the signing of a new security pact with US. This is not the first time of security act, but this is a renewal of the already existing security pact, and it's more like a fresh start of the defense cooperation between Pakistan and USA. Now CIA MOA, that is what from the US signatory side, Communication Interoperability and Security Memorandum of Agreement. It's actually one of the 4 foundational agreements that US signs with its allies. Now this agreement was first signed between the Joint Staff Headquarters of Pakistan and that of USA in October 2005. It was for 15 years. It got expired in 2020, so it's actually a renewal of the already existing terms. So I told you there is 4 foundational agreements. Now out of that we have, first I have already told about CIS MOA. It's basically deal with the provisions of giving a legal framework or transfer of a highly sensitive communication security equipments. It's more like encrypted data or very secret or technology. These are some of the components of the legal framework that get shared between India and Pakistan. Now, India and USA also have the same kind of signatory. We signed it in 2018. Now, the other three, we have General Security of Military Information Agreement, which allows the military to share their intelligence gathered. It is also signed by India. Logistics Exchange Memorandum of Agreement allows access to each other's design military facilities, also give more logistic support, supplies and services. Now, the last one, BECA, Basic Exchange and Cooperation Agreement. This is actually the sharing of geopolitical satellite and data with each other, India and USA. This is also signed, which means that India is signatory of all the 4 foundational affiliations that is given out by USA for its basic alliance. Now, moving on to our next question, we have Jan Vishwas Bill. I told you yesterday about the Vivad Se Vishwas Bill, which talks about ease of doing business for MSME and other groups. So, first we need to see what is the Jan Vishwas Bill. Now, this was improved. The aim is to increase the ease of living and ease of doing business. Now, this proposed to actually amend 42 central acts, which consist of some legislations which comes under our 19 ministries like agriculture, trade, commerce. So, these are some of the areas under which the ease of living and ease of doing business should be ensured. Now, the objective is to decriminalize certain offences. Like some offence may be minor. Rather than dragging it in the judiciary and taking years over years and criminalizing this minor procedure, it's better to actually impose a fine on them rather than dragging them to the court all along. So, that is why the objective of this bill is to decriminalize minor offences replace it with certain penalties. Like they just want to decriminalize certain act which doesn't affect the public interest or national security. Now, the key features, remove the imprisonment clause and replace it with fine. Compounding of offences. Certain cases takes like 2 years or 3 years of jail time and certain amount of fine. Now, the manufacturer or the industry or this individual is given an option. They could either take this criminalizing offence or they could actually pay a fine and leave it. Also, periodic revision of fines. Now, the benefit is that it reduces the pressure on the judiciary because all these cases get compounded into the judiciary and it increases the burden of judiciary. Thus, if we are shifting these like some kind of minor offences to penalty, this would actually reduce the burden of judiciary. It could actually reduce the pending cases and also foster a trust-based governance between the government and the people. Now, the bill Jan Vishwas bill mainly talked about substandard drugs. We need to know what substandard drugs is. Changes to the Drugs and Cosmetics Act of 1940. This act did change these 2 provisions. Like they could remove they could decriminalize minor offence and they could also compound of offences like certain criminal offence can be converted to settlements like fine and settlements. So, these 2 are changed under this bill of 1940, but there is certain acts that was not changed. Now, section 24 of this Drugs and Cosmetic has provision for punishment of multiple offences. Now, if a medicine is adulterated or if it is adulterated and it lead to the death or grievous injury to the person consuming it, there is sentences up to life imprisonment. Also, if the adulterated medicine is manufactured is not licensed, then they will have a sentence up to 5 years. If the spurious medicine other than the ones has fallen under the first and second category, they will have an sentence up to 7 years. Also, the clause D, if this 3, apart from all these 3, if the medicine deals with a non-standard quality also, they face certain kind of offences. So, these are some of the clause which is unchanged kept under this. The NSQ is not of standard quality, which means that it fails some of the basic requirements that is particular that needed in that medicine, like as per the Pharmacopoeia Commission. It includes the drugs that fails in the dissolution process, which means that it can be a tablet or a capsule, it actually doesn't raise the actual capacity of ingredients in the body, and also it doesn't contain the full dosage of medicine as per mentioned in the Medicine Coverage Act. So, the government here wants to compound these available. If it's a minor offence only, the government wants to compound, like rather than giving them a 2 years imprisonment and 10,000 or 20,000 rupees of fine, convert it into fine alone. This fine won't be less than 5 lakh rupees. So, only to manufacturer who are facing jail over minor lapses. Now, what is the manufacturer has to say on this? Now, it is a good move as per the manufacturer because this prevents them years of being stuck in the legislation for years and over a very minor offense. It is also that if this legislation goes on, it could be harmful to their business also, and this would increase a case of harassment also. So, as per consider the manufacturer, this is a very good move. In case of minor offense, they could just give a penalty or a fine and then leave, or in case they have to face life imprisonment or 5 to 7 years of jail time as mentioned above. So, this is basically what you need to hear mainly know is Jan Vishwas Bill or Vivad Se Vishwas Bill. These are some of the trust-based governance mechanism that the government has introduced in the last 2 to 3 years just to improve the ease of living and ease of doing business. So, this is just what the article says about it. It's a major change, a small change, but still you can quote this as examples. Now, moving on. We have entered the prelims portion where the government has imposed curbs on imports of laptops and tablets. Now you see, majority of the tablets and laptops, mobiles are such as imported from outside. Now, it actually wants to restrict these kind of laptops and small factor personal computers or personal computers PCs. They want to restrict or ban the import of such things. What the government want to do is that they want to import the raw materials and other factors so that they could assemble this in India and manufacture or make it as made in India product. It also requires that we can, as an individual, if I am abroad, if I am in US or in China, I could buy from there. That is not a case of penalty or fine here. If I am going outside to purchase this laptop or tablet from there, that doesn't attract any fine or anything. It also, that is one such criteria. It could impact short-term laptop availability because they are increasing the price or they are banning. So, there is a reduction in supply and increase in demand, which means that the price will increase. And also, the notification may entitle longer wait times for the individual products to be cleared for import. Even I could actually ask for imports. I am buying it online from China or from USA or from Taiwan, anywhere, but it will take a longer time to be accepted and cleared. It is going to mainly affect some brands like Dell, HP, Lenovo and Apple, such companies or laptops which is going to get affected by this. As I told you, travelers as outside will be free to one of these products from overseas without attracting any penalties. The laptops can be still purchased online, but they are going to attract the import duty and shipping fees, thus making the laptop or the tablet much more expensive. Also, the device imported for research and development and those repaired abroad are exempted from these restrictions. This is the only such exemption that is mentioned in this whole article. Now you see there, this is a very important, why the Indian government is actually banning the import. Now you see, majority we import from China, like about $9,446 million worth of laptop tablets are imported from China. Then we have Hong Kong, Singapore and Malaysia, Taiwan. So China has an iron grip, a strong grip over the imports of such laptop and to India. This is a very bad phase for India and they want to reduce this grip and produce more make in India laptops and tablets. Now the basic idea of the Indian government, as I told you, is to assemble these products or plants, assembling plants here, so that they could import the raw materials and the equipments and this manufacture and say it as it is made in India. But the raw materials and the other equipments are imported. We still add to the cost. The one thing that the government missing here is that this is not a viable option for the long run, because we are not given the indigenous technology. We are still importing the technology or the equipments from outside. How is this going to be viable for India in the long run? So what the Indian government needs to do, then, rather than imposing a ban, what we need to do is that we create the indigenous technologies. We create this base for India so that we can develop such futures in the develop such technology in the future, rather than just setting up an assembling plant here. That is what. Yes. Also, there is a presence of global competition, because we are using laptop, tablets mainly for education purpose or office work and all. So when we are going to purchase it, we will purchase only the best quality one. Rather than looking up the price, we also look for the viability of such products. So there exists a large global competition, and also if we are creating indigenously this product to get to the global stage of people purchasing it, is going to be a little tough. So these are some of the concerns we will face in the future when the government has imposed such restrictions on import of laptop and all. Now 3 bills has been passed by Rajya Sabha in the absence of opposition, these are just 3 bills. These were colonial bills which used to exist pre-independence. They are just changing these bills. The one is Offshore Area Mineral Development and Regulation Amendment Bill. There was a lot of corruption going on this mining of coal and mineral. They just want to reduce the scandal, so this bill was introduced. Then there was a Advocates Amendment Bill. This was pre-registration. There was not much of concern in this bill. Now, there is another bill called Press and Registration Period. This was accepted in 1867 when the British government used to restrict the publications of newspapers and such. Such an bill was introduced. Now, we don't need that kind of restrictions now, thus we are eliminating, and now the legislation proposes that they want to uphold the spirit of media freedom and ease of doing business. That's a very small topic. Now, this is our last topic which we need to in detail discuss about PMI, Purchasing Manager Index. This is given out by S&P, Standard and Poor Global India Service Purchasing Manager Index. We need to know what PMI is. It is actually a survey based measure. It measures the key business deals which is going out in India so that we could actually get an economic health or economic output of how is India managing. Now, it provides information about the current and the future business conditions of the company, thus so that the decision makers in the other companies could actually formulate a plan of action for them. So, it provides information on the current trend and the future trend of businesses happening. It is actually calculated separately. There are 2 branches, manufacturing branch and service branch. The PMI is numbered from 0 to 100. If it is 50, there is no much up and down going on. If it's greater than 50, it states that the business is booming. And if it's less than 50, it denotes a kind of contraction. As I told you, PMI is an indicator of the economic health of manufacturing and the service sector in India. Now, we need to know what this article is about. It talks about the service search. I told you PMI, manufacturing and service. It talks about the service search. In this July year, there was a 15-year high. Like I told you, if it's greater than 50, the PMI greater than 50, the business is blooming. Now, it's shown that the PMI is about 62.3, which is actually a 15 years high. And also there was input cost rise in the first piece, which is 13 months, which was mainly driven by the food, labor and transportation. This services was mainly increased because of our export to Nepal, Sri Lanka and UAE. This is basically the basic drivers of why the service surge is happening in India right now. And the PMI is in 15 years high, leading up to 62.3. Also the pace of job creation was literally slightly not that much as expected, but pace of job is better or is slightly on par with the previous month. So, these are basic takeaways from this article. In this article, what you mainly need to know about is what is PMI. It is important for a topic in prelims and also in our GS3 economy. Also, if you get a mains question related to this, you can write the recent trends of how PMI is greater than 50. Currently, is 13 years high. So, these are some of the you can mention in this services article. Now, let us discuss some prelims based question. Which one of the following pairs of islands is separated from each other by the 10-degree channel? This is basic geography which everybody needs to know. It's an old question, 2014. You may not even get this kind of question in the coming future. But 10-degree channel is between Andaman and Nicobars. Which one of the following place is Shompen tribe found? So, these are some of the particularly vulnerable tribal groups. Is mainly found in the Nicobars Island. What indicates S&P 500? Supercomputer, new technique of e-business, new technique to bridge buildings, and index of stock of large companies. S&P 500 is an index of stock of large companies. S&P is Standard and Poor 500. This is basically an American based stocks of large company, how it index is given out. Now, this is the last question. How is the National Green Tribunal different from the Central Pollution Control Board? The National Green Tribunal has been established by an act, whereas the CPCB has been created by an executive order of the government. The NGPT provides environmental justice, help reduce the burden of litigation in the higher court, whereas CPCB promotes cleanliness of streams, wells and aims to improve the quality of air in the country. Both CPCB and NGT came out act, so both are statutory bodies. The CPCB was not created by an executive order, but per the Water Prevention Control Act of 1970s. So, that is the first statement is wrong. NGT comes by National Green Tribunal Act of 2010. The second statement is correct, whereas NGT provides environmental justice and help reduce the burden. CPCB control pollution, basically on water pollution, air pollution, to control the streams and such. So, only 2 is the correct answer. So, that is all for today. We have discussed a quite bit topics, mainly of prelims and mains important. You can get this PDF from our Telegram channel, Gallant IAS, which is the official channels. Thank you. Watch more. I will be seeing you tomorrow. Thank you.